Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
The Lifestyle Show.
Selina MacKenzie.
Our brains are incredibly adept at repair.
The Me Nobody Sees.
We create our own realities.
A deep insight into mental health.
Yes, this is the Me Nobody Sees, where we shine a light on the real and often unspoken challenges of mental health. Today we're focusing on postnatal depression and other pregnancy-related mental health issues. Experiences that affect so many new parents but are still too often hidden behind silence and stigma. Whether you're a new mum, a dad, a loved one or someone supporting families, this show is for you. Together we'll share stories, expert advice and hope, reminding everyone that it's okay to talk and it's okay to ask for help.
The Me Nobody Sees. A deep insight into mental health.
As always, we want you to join in, ask any questions. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. 645 99 67 95 is the WhatsApp. And the email is studio@tre.radio. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Hi.
Hi. I better introduce you, haven't I? We have our survivor, Michelle Mack.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We have our therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, Pascal Lane.
Good afternoon.
And our very own Anna Glavinsky from TRE.
Hello.
And I'm going to come straight over to you, Anna, because I know you've got your own story that you'd like to share.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's weird to see it in the context of a story because, you know, normally a story has a beginning, middle and ends. And I still feel like I'm very much in the middle of where I'm at. But... and also to think of where the beginning was as well, I don't know. But we're talking about pregnancy, miscarriages, and from my point of view, communicating about it as well, talking about it. And so where I would start would probably be years and years and years ago. From maybe about 18, I was already having pain and problems with my womb, but the system being as it is, I never had a full investigation, diagnosis, complete understanding that things were perhaps quite seriously wrong. You know, there was just pain meds, things got on with it, different hormones. And then I got older and older and older. And then at some point decided I wanted to try for a baby.
Is this all in the UK?
UK and Spain. Yeah, so I had... so I wanted to have the coil removed, which I had the coil implanted, and I wanted to have it removed here in Spain. It took me 2 years to literally just have, just have it removed. So I'm getting on by this time already. You know, I was 36.
It's all right. I'm just looking super shocked.
That is crazy.
2 years. So
That's insane.
you're supposed to have the coil in for 5 years. Mine was in for 7. Just trying to get appointments.
Can I ask, was it a Mirena coil?
It was a Mirena coil, yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know, a Mirena coil is slightly different to a regular coil as it gives off different hormones within the body while it's in there.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. So, you know, I still wasn't entirely sure that things could be really wrong. I was just, you know, I got to a stage where I wanted to try for a baby, wanted the coil out. Eventually the coil got removed and 6 months later I was pregnant, which was, you know, fantastic, really exciting. But all my womb issues started coming back. I was in so much pain and ended up bedbound within a few weeks of being pregnant, actually. So I had like 1 week of being able to walk, 1 month of being able to walk around, and then I spent the next 2 months bedbound with cramps and pain, and eventually lost the baby just before the first trimester at 11 weeks, which is, you know, horrible.
Devastating.
It was really, really sad, and also something that gave me more compassion because I've known so many people that have had miscarriages, and the naive part of me never really understood why it was so sad. So I'm, sorry to say this.
It is tough.
That's how I felt.
I had two
Right,
in between.
let's just finish her story first, if that's okay.
I think it was just, I suppose a lack of understanding of, a baby hadn't been born, it wasn't a person, how could you miss what you haven't had, or all those sorts of naive, maybe a bit selfish thinking until you go through it yourself. And it was really sad. But the reason that I really wanted to talk about it today is because from the beginning I spoke about it, because the doctors very clearly said they knew I had some issues, and they said, don't get your hopes up, don't get too excited. And the first thing I said to my husband and then to some of my girlfriends was like, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
And you want to share
and my hopes are up because, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that this works out all right. You don't choose those emotions. They're there. And I clearly remember saying, and if it all goes wrong, then I'll be sad and I'll deal with that.
But let me enjoy it for a bit.
Yeah, let me enjoy it and experience the reality of whatever I'm feeling, not just be like, well, this might not work, so don't feel whatever you're feeling.
It's sort of putting you on the back foot from day one, isn't it?
As well, yeah.
In that sense. And you thinking, you'd be constantly worrying, wouldn't you, from day one with your pregnancy then, if they've said something, rather than allowing you to relax, as you say, and enjoy it.
Yeah, because if you stress, that's not going to help the situation at all, is it?
Yeah, but I also felt like sort of the hidden message behind that is like, don't get too excited, don't tell too many people about it, don't be really open about it, because that first trimester, traditionally, you're not supposed to, and I'm putting inverted commas here, you're not supposed to talk about it until after the first trimester. And I honestly don't know how I would have coped if I hadn't talked about it.
I think it's really hard as well, because as you say, you're so excited.
Yeah, and it's a bit like denying that the baby existed then, because you don't bother telling anyone that you've had a miscarriage because they didn't know you were having a baby.
Exactly.
It's awful.
Exactly. And then there'd be so many gaps in people's understanding of it. It actually happened here at Talk Radio Europe. I had to miss a few shows and couldn't tell people why. And then got some really rubbish comments on Facebook being like, Anna's letting the team down, and stuff like that.
You didn't?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, it was...
It's amazing how judgmental people
I was
are.
lying in bed.
That's shocking. I didn't realise that.
I was pretty shocked.
That's not nice. And I remember you saying that, I think you met somebody at the school gates or something that was saying you sort of had an affinity with because she'd gone through it, and she said, I'm open to talk about it, and you felt like probably you shouldn't talk about the miscarriage. So 1 minute you can't talk about the pregnancy, then you can't talk about the miscarriage.
Yeah.
We should be open like Hayley was in the first hour.
I really think so, because I've spoken to so many people, you guys, at the very minimum that has happened with me anyway is someone's known what's happened, they've said, how are you? And I've burst into tears because a little friendly face will do that to me, and they've given me a hug and said I'm sorry, and I've said thank you. Mm-hmm. That's worst case. Best is that other people have opened up, and I was thinking of doing some research before I came here, and then I thought, no, I'm not an expert on this, I don't know the statistics, but the number of women that have had miscarriages is incredibly high.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Very high.
And then you mention it and someone else says, I also had that, or I had problems getting pregnant, I had pain, I had this, I had that. And before you know it, people are sharing. But also I got so much hope from it, because I've met women who they've gone through awful things. 7 miscarriages, ended up with a baby.
That's
a 50-year-old
yeah.
mum, neighbour that I know, she's there, I babysit her 7-year-old occasionally. Because we're talking about it, I'm hearing all of these stories of people who've gone through bad stuff, much worse stuff, and still ended up having the baby that they wanted. Yeah. And I wouldn't have known that.
And you will. I'm convinced you will.
I'm
going to be an auntie one day.
I do know what it's like. I do sympathise enormously.
So did you have two?
I had 2 miscarriages between both of my girls. I think it's harder if you haven't had a child and you have a miscarriage. Because if you've already had one, you know that you can carry to term and you know that you're okay. I'd been through a number of procedures before falling pregnant because I hadn't been able to conceive naturally. So I'd done 9 months on a hormonal drug to boost.
Was that IVF or different?
I did IVF as well. No, that was different, but I did IVF. And a week after I'd had my first embryo transfer for IVF, I lost my nan. And It was really traumatic. We were really close, and I hadn't told her that I'd had the embryo transfer, and I felt really bad about that. But I knew it hadn't worked. For some reason, I just knew with everything that had gone and it hadn't worked. And it hadn't. But a month later, I was pregnant naturally, and I'd spent the last 7 years prior to that trying to...
That's happened quite often.
No, that was Claudia.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Claudia.
Yeah, I had the same thing happen with Leah. We lost Bruce's mum just before I fell pregnant with Leah.
So it's
as
probably
well.
the stress.
So, it's the circle of... I don't know whether it's the circle of life
yeah.
or whatever it is, whatever you believe in or don't believe in. But yeah, I mean, I waited for years for it to happen, and you know.
But look at them now, little darlings they are. Pascal, as an expert, I know you're not an expert in this field necessarily, but as a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, I suppose once that's happened to you, you would lose all your confidence, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I've not had this experience, so I'm very... like I say, very, very fortunate and very grateful for that. But I've had a few friends that have been affected by it and had it happen, and it is devastating. It really is. And I think, as Anna was saying, you know, this whole thing around you're not supposed to kind of like broadcast a pregnancy until 3 months, but then absolutely, like, if nobody knows about it, how can you get the support that you need if anything goes wrong? And then you know, it's there's still so much kind of, I don't know whether taboo feels too strong or not, but
I think it is a bit taboo.
It is a bit, isn't it? And I mean, and same with postnatal depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's still like we're getting better at talking about it, but can't. And I think that really feeds into the confidence.
Yeah.
Because actually, when we are not free to speak and we are having to hold back and we are having to mask and we're having to do all of the things to kind of carry on normal life and stiff upper lip and all of the rubbish that goes with this kind of like stoic attitude that we're meant to have, you can't be authentic, you can't be honest. And if you're not being authentic and you're not being honest, how can you be confident?
Have you ever had any clients with postnatal depression?
I have had clients with postnatal depression, and my best friend had postnatal depression, although neither of us knew it at the time because we were both very young. We were both 18. And now we look back on it, we clearly see that she did. But in terms of clients, yeah, absolutely, and the problem is the shame.
Yeah,
it's the shame, and it is the stigma, because I think with postnatal depression, I can speak more about postnatal depression than I can having a miscarriage, but because I've worked with women who we've talked quite a lot about postnatal depression, but there's almost this. It's a sign of weakness.
Isn't it terrible?
And if I speak up and I share my vulnerability or my sadness or my anger or, you know, whatever resentment, whatever feelings are coming up in that time, then I'll be called an unfit mother. I'll be challenged. I'll be questioned.
It's less of being called an unfit mother, having had PND quite profoundly with my first child. And you're right, societal expectations, I think, are that, you know, you should be full of joy, happiness, everything, because you've got this wonderful new life and everything like that. And actually, for me, I actually just couldn't function at all.
And did you feel the guilt, like you failed your child?
Horrific guilt. But I didn't know really what was happening. I didn't see what was happening at the time. And I was just very fortunate that back in the day then, I was still in the UK, and I had an amazing health worker from our local GP surgery who came round and said to me, right, she said, you're coming with me and you're coming to see the doctor.
And I should imagine postnatal depression is common, like miscarriages are common. It's just that people don't talk about it, so we don't know the statistics.
Yeah, because it makes it sound like you're ungrateful as well.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be, you go through this pregnancy, you're so excited, presumably you want it, and then...
but it's an illness, isn't it?
Yeah, big question mark. Can I ask, if you don't mind, how you were how the symptoms were of that postnatal depression?
Well,
how were you presenting?
So I'd had what they'd classified as just general depression earlier in my 20s. I never had my first child until I was in my late 20s or early 30s. So I was quite mature as a mum, and I just found everything too overwhelming. And I think, I was a bit of a perfectionist, which isn't very good. Because there's no such thing as perfection. And you want to do everything right. You want to be the best mum, you want to be the best wife, you want to be the best homemaker, all these things. And I think it just all became too much. And I think there was so much expectation, or I put so much expectation on myself, that I didn't feel I could live up to it. And I wasn't coping.
And I think it's worse now, because of social media, because people put these baby photos on, mum happy, everyone's happy. It's not always like that. The babies aren't perfect. They are going to be sick on you. You are going to be feeling tired and crap. But because of social media, I can imagine a lot of young mums will be thinking, well, why aren't I like that?
I mean, it's such an easy thing to blame, social media, but it's definitely true. So I've also got an adopted little boy.
He's gorgeous.
He's great. He's great, but he is naughty. He is... Oh!
How old?
10. Good luck. We got him when he was 6, so, he came as a handful. And I really did... I'm ashamed to admit it, but I got sucked into the social media trap of what sort of parent I was supposed to be. And my feed just knew what to give me to make me feel even worse about myself. And this is how you need to be parenting. And most of the stuff that I was seeing on social media just didn't work. I was getting my advice and tips from people that got loads of likes on social media posts, because somehow that made me feel like that must make it legitimate advice.
It's very easy to get sucked into that, I think.
Yeah, and actually I was just thinking, so I was a social worker for 18 years before I got into therapy and coaching. And actually the last role that I had, I was there for so long with my local authority, I did pretty much all of the teams, to be honest with you. And I worked in adoption and fostering. I used to do special guardianship assessments to family members. And the reality of adopting
is so tough.
Is unbelievably difficult. And I'm not talking about the legal process. I'm talking about that little bundle, however little or big they are, comes with a plethora of baggage.
Yeah.
And damage and trauma.
Yeah.
And so, and there may be another conversation for another time, but even as newborn babies, there is enough evidence to suggest that during the pregnancy and what have you, that there's nature nurture, because the baby is still aware of what's going on, mum's cortisol levels, if there's domestic violence or anything like that, it's all kind of, you call it whatever you want, it's there, right? So the amount of foster placements that break down, I just don't think people know.
It's fascinating because obviously, having spent such a long time trying for kids, we'd obviously discussed adoption at various different points. And for me, it was never an option. And I'll explain why. Because of exactly what these two lovely ladies have just said, I didn't think, and I could put my hand on my heart if anything went really badly wrong, and know that I could feel the same way about a child that I'd adopted as to my own natural born child. And people may judge me for that, but I think you've got to be realistic and honest with yourself in those situations. So adoption was never an option for me, but I did consider fostering. If I hadn't have had kids of my own, I would have definitely gone down that route.
I think that must be hard, because to me it's like fostering a puppy. You can't give them back.
Yeah.
I mean, they become part of you. Well, I'm only saying that because I'm a big dog lover. I'm not putting children and dogs in the same category. I'm just saying that, I couldn't foster a dog. I couldn't foster a baby because no matter what, I'd fall in love. I fall in love easy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to give them back.
You just have to buy a bigger house.
But you also have to, if you're fostering, you have to really share the points of view of the birth parents. Whereas at least if you adopt, or you can make all the decisions how you want to parent. And to me,
but then once you've adopted, all of your support drops off.
Yeah.
So if you're doing, let's say, long-term fostering, you've got all of the support, you've got the social worker, you've got funding, you've got contact help, you've got anything that you want. The child has support up until they're 25.
Oh, wow.
Like there's so much available. The day you adopt,
Boom.
all of that falls off a cliff.
That's the UK. Do we know what it's like in Spain?
A little bit. I went to an adoption meeting in Spain, and they say that you get support, you get psychologist support for the kid and for the parents, you get check-ins, they work with the school as well. What I found really interesting as well is that they don't expect the kids to go to school, especially older, if they're adopted a bit older. They don't expect the kids to go to school until they're ready. So the priority is that bonding time with the family, and that kid might be out of school for a couple of years. And they work with the school and with you until
I think
they're
that's
ready.
fantastic,
Yeah,
though, because I think it gives the child then a much better, firmer grounding from the start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's.
I think we've learnt so much. When you think 20, 30 years ago, this would never be thought of. It's like, no, a child
we
has
wouldn't
to
be
go to
having this
school.
discussion.
No, that's very true. We wouldn't. It would be completely taboo. We do need to take our first advert break, so we're slightly overdue, but we'll be back on the other side.
The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina MacKenzie.
Okie dokie, this is the Me Nobody Sees with Pascal, Michelle and Anna, and we are talking about mental health related illnesses to do with pregnancy, maybe postnatal depression, miscarriages, that sort of thing. So feel free to join in. A couple of ladies who have very kindly given their names have sent WhatsApps in. I'm just going to move my microphone so I can see it because my eyes aren't that good. From Claire in Costa Blanca, she said, "Hi, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for doing this show. When my son was born 2 years ago, I thought I was just being a terrible mum because I didn't feel the rush of love that everyone talks about. I cried every night for weeks and I felt like I was failing him. My GP finally recognised it as postnatal depression and got me into therapy. It took a while, but I'm in a much better place now. I wish I'd known sooner that it was okay to ask for help." Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, well done. Well done to Claire for admitting that. And I guess if she'd have known, she could have come to someone like you. And what would you do? Would you just talk to her and explain? I mean, how does it work, your therapy?
Yeah, so I mean, well, I am a therapeutic coach, so I work predominantly with women who are unhappy in their relationship. But we always go right back to the beginning. So my work's in 3 parts. I will answer the question, I promise.
Don't worry, take
I'm
your
not
time.
pitching, I promise, but I'm getting
go
there.
for it.
It's in 3 parts. So we've got the talking part of it, which isn't just churning over stuff. It's actually coming up with a plan and coming up with ways to kind of rewire and change. I've got a course that is holistic, past, present, future, all areas of the ecosystem, which they complete and we do together. And then there's the WhatsApp support. Talk therapy is very helpful. I'm a relationship therapist. I believe in it very much, but I'm also very much about taking action. So the difficulty with any kind of depression is that there is... We're talking about brain chemicals, and postnatal depression, we're talking about hormones. Yeah. So you've got all of that you need to kind of take into account as well. But I mean, I suppose the most important thing that I would do, and I have done, is consider, listen, validate what's going on, reassure, because it won't last forever, even if it feels like, that lovely saying, this too shall pass, and be supportive and encouraging wherever possible to just do what you can. But I think, the word that keeps coming back to me is kind of shame, and it's not you can take that in whatever way that you want. That feels like that's the umbrella term for whatever else is coming from it. But ultimately, what women need in that situation is patience and acceptance,
understanding. Yeah. I mean, I've never had postnatal depression, but I have had depression. I know that I used to feel shame and guilt and embarrassed, and you know, what's wrong with me? I'm just upsetting my family. But I now understand that was a chemical imbalance. That is something happening in my brain. It's not me. It's not my fault. It's like if you break your arm. And I guess what we should say to these ladies out there is, if you're feeling like Claire, it's not you. It's your hormones. Your hormones are going all over the place, like it does when you're on a period. Your hormones are just not doing the right thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, like when I was in my 20s, late 20s, before I had my first daughter, I used to suffer from unbelievable PMS, actually to the point that I had to go to the doctors and get medication for it because it was kind of getting out of control. And I look back on that now and I think, God, I was like a possessed person for like a week, a month. And it was my hormones.
Yeah.
Like the minute I got my period, it was like waking up from like a nightmare and being like, oh, okay, fine, all right. Nervous system regulated again, you know, but
it's the same as menopause, isn't
absolutely,
it?
hormones have got an awful lot to be are responsible for so much.
Yeah.
And I also suggest as well, and I've not actually been there myself, but... Well, actually, you were talking about dogs.
I'm always talking about dogs.
It always comes back to dogs.
Is there something in with postnatal depression as well, in just the huge upheaval to your life, the massive change that you've got to get used to? Because I remember getting my puppies, happened with both of them. I had them for about 2 months, thought they were the best. And then after that, for 6 months, it happened with both of them. I couldn't stand them.
Oh, no.
And I went through the motions. I fed them, walked them, cuddled them, but I had this like real like, oh my God, what have I done? It's so annoying.
You do feel like that with children as well, I will tell you.
I figured. And then time went on, this too passed and adjusted, and my dogs are the best things in my life. Keep me sane when things are going bad. They're amazing. But I do remember...
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah, just feeling like... I chose them, but I still had some resentment towards just, oh no.
Because your life changes, so with a baby it's going to change.
And then you've got the sleep deprivation as well.
Yes,
and the sleep deprivation is... I mean, when I had my second, my second was an absolute breeze. Firstly, because she slept for the first 3 months. I actually thought I was worried there was something wrong with her because she just didn't wake up. But actually, I was so used to not sleeping by that point because my eldest was 2 when I had Jasmine. And so sleep deprivation was just standard by that point. But when I had Amelie, I don't know how I functioned. I really, and she was an amazing baby. Like, I lucked out on both of my babies, but the sleep, I mean, it nearly threw me over. It is torture.
It must be.
It really is.
As a lifelong insomniac, I get that. But but then that's when you nap in the daytime, isn't it? When the baby goes down for a nap, and you just have to take every opportunity you can.
And if you've got a good
support
little system.
But that's the thing. Unfortunately, today, in a lot of cases, we women don't have that. It's not like we used to be, where we used to live near family and we used to have grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins for support. Family dynamics are different. Everybody lives further away. So women don't have the same support networks that they used to have. I mean, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and it does, really. But when you don't have that, you have to just do with a pueblo.
Yeah, do with a pueblo. So, Claire, we salute you. Thank you for being brave, and there's more coming in. But Sophie also wrote in. She is a new mum listening in Gibraltar. I'm only 3 weeks into motherhood, and honestly, I am struggling. struggling.
Oh, bless her.
Everyone keeps saying how lucky I am and how beautiful the baby is, but inside I just feel numb. I'm scared to tell anyone because I don't want them to think I can't cope. Hearing other mums talk about postnatal depression today and your expert panel makes me feel less alone. Thank you for normalising this conversation.
Oh, bless her. Listen, Sophie, if you're listening, still listening, please don't feel bad, don't feel ashamed. Go and speak to your doctor. They really do understand this, and you will get the support and help you need.
100%.
Because if you let it go on too long, it will become more of a problem than it is already. So please go and ask for help. You're doing nothing wrong. It's perfectly normal.
We'll also give Pascal's contact details out at the end as well.
Lovely. Okay,
yes, we'll do that. Right, we need to take another advert break. We're running lots behind. We'll be back on the other side.
The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina MacKenzie.
This is the Me Nobody Sees with me, Selina MacKenzie, Pascal, Anna and Michelle. More emails and WhatsApps coming through. This one's from Mark, who's a dad, listening on Alexa in Bolton, UK. Wow. Alexa, volume up. Sorry about that, Mark. You can but Alexa, volume down now. It's enough. Seriously, as a husband, I didn't really understand what my wife was going through after our daughter was born. She seemed distant and angry, and I took it personally. It wasn't until she was diagnosed with postnatal depression that I realised she was suffering. I wish there was more support and awareness for partners too. Good point. Yeah. We want to help, but don't often know how to. Well done, ladies, on an excellent show. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. So nice to hear a man commenting on it, because it's so difficult for men to A, understand, and B, know exactly what to do to support you. Because, listen, let's be honest, when our hormones are raging, we're really, really hard to deal with anyway.
Hard to deal with anyway, but you don't even know yourself what you need.
That's the problem.
So how can you voice it to somebody else?
You don't know what to ask for. You don't know what help you need, actually.
And I think the problem, I'm not going to sound awful, Mark, and I don't mean this awful, but the problem is, and I don't mean the problem is, I don't know how to say this, I'm thinking of my own husband. What men tend to do is try to fix things. And I get that. That's lovely. That's a real man thing. Sometimes we don't want it fixed. We just want, put your arm around us and give us a cuddle. Exactly. That's all we need. 100%. We don't need anything fixing. Yeah. So,
or just take the baby away for 3 hours.
Let her have a sleep.
Either take the baby.
Oh, well done, Mark. Thank you very much, and very brave of you to write in. This one is anonymous, which is also fine. It's been 10 years since I had my baby, but your show brought back all those memories. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor thinking that my baby deserved a better mum. Oh. I never told anyone how bad it got. It's amazing to hear people speaking openly about it now. I hope it saves someone else from suffering in silence. A huge thank you to you all. Thank you from Anonymous.
Thank you.
And one more. I'm not going to give the contact details out because I think we might run out of time. So this one's from Leanne in Calahonda, and she said, I run a local mums group here in Spain, and we've started doing weekly check-ins about mental health. The difference it's made is incredible. When we talk about postnatal depression without shame, people open up. I just want to say, please keep doing shows like this. It's literally life-changing. Thank you, Leanne.
We love it when we get this feedback.
Oh, we do. It makes it all worthwhile.
And what an amazing group that she's running. Like, so useful and so helpful. Because I felt really isolated with my adopted kiddo because the behaviour is so bad at school, so violent against other kids and stuff, that all the other mums turned against us. Yeah. Aww. So, and I understand their point of view. They're sort of trying to protect their little ones and say, well, if he's punching you, don't go near him or whatever. But it put us in a very isolated situation. And again, because we didn't get the chance to talk about it, we didn't get to explain the story.
And how's he doing now? What is the story?
We're fighting to see if we can homeschool now. Yeah, because it's not going well. But what was my point? What I would have given to have a mum's group was my point. Yeah, because to have some support, have someone to share it with,
just even to have somebody to talk to. Really, isn't it?
And let the kids run around and you sit and chat and complain and
that's where initially I had excuse me, a go at social media, but that's where social media is good, because you can have forums, you can get people together in a similar area. It has its good
points and its bad points, like absolutely everything. It just depends on how you utilise it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does indeed.
Well done for that group.
Yeah, well done for the mums group. Pascal, do you also speak to, if you were speaking to somebody about postnatal depression, would you suggest the family or the father or co-mother comes in to discuss things with you as well? Can you help them?
Yes, certainly, if that's appropriate and if that's what the mum wants. I do feel for dads and actually mums, like grannies, as well. There's I think, there are so many layers to it. I would happily, but I wouldn't necessarily as a given, if I'm honest, because I think, well, I mean, every situation is very different.
Yeah.
And my experience of doing stuff like that is that then we end up, and there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment, no shade. Then we would end up getting into the relationship stuff and like who's doing more, who's working harder, who's more tired, who's blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden we're doing relationship therapy rather than actually, which may well have its place, don't get me wrong, but that's not what we were here to do.
I can tell you the mother is always doing more and is always more tired.
I know that from my own experience, my love. I've been doing it for the last 12 years, and trust me, I've been doing it all on my own.
Are you a single mum?
No, not exactly.
You've just been doing it on your own. Yeah, Michelle's not a single mum
on our own, even if we're not single mums.
Yeah. Do you do most, Anna?
Absolutely. It's really frustrating, actually. Yeah.
It's a subject for another day.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely, it is. And I guess as far as postnatal depression is concerned, are there different types? Or is it just postnatal depression?
I think it's just classified as one thing. Yeah. However, it affects people differently. Obviously, everybody is affected differently. It depends on how their hormonal balances are, what their relationships are outside of the relationship with the child, whether they've got a father in the relationship, whether parents, grandparents are around. So, most people I spoke to after the situation who had postnatal depression, I don't know whether you'll agree with this, Anna, after losing the baby, it's roughly the same. It's the same sort of feelings, those feelings of just not being able to cope. And if in fact what your lady on the message said, I'm sat there, I feel like I should be on top of the world. Everybody's saying, oh, how wonderful. And you just can't feel like that. You feel no joy in the situation.
And I guess in the situation that you two have both been in, having miscarriages, that's also a form of postnatal depression because your hormones are all over the place again. So as well as feeling sad that you've lost the baby,
I think differently. I lost one very early, which was, even though it was awkward, but I lost one at 12 weeks, which was pretty grim. And it is. I think it's different though. I honestly would say I felt very differently post losses rather than with the PND. They're very different things.
I wouldn't feel like I went into depression. I don't identify with that as extremely sad, and definitely had some grief. But it felt like a normal, healthy. It felt like what I was supposed to be, to be feeling, and maybe that's the difference. You're supposed to be feeling this joy at the new baby, and you're not. That's the mismatch. But at least, and because we're talking about this the whole time, because I talked to people around me knew that I was upset, and no one had any expectations.
You
took me out for a coffee and just let me talk. People were nice to me, and I was sad. Not
because
depressed.
It's the difference is you're grieving. It's a bereavement as opposed to you're not coping.
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, spot on. And it is a bereavement, no matter how small the fetus is, what size or what how many weeks. It is a bereavement, and it's a bereavement for a life that you were expecting. Excuse me.
Yeah, but I think you can feel those feelings in a healthy way. Not that you're not sad, but that you are. and then perhaps that helps it not turn into a depression where you feel like you can't cope.
I think if you've got a predisposition to depressive situations, it could trigger that. For me, it didn't. It didn't have any effect on me in the same way like you. It was a bereavement, a grief, and a loss. It was probably, though, I wasn't able to talk about it at the time in the same way. It was still very much taboo when I went through them, because it was well over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
but it sounds like it's pretty much taboo even for Anna now, and it shouldn't be, should it?
Yeah, borderline. Borderline is a little bit. And I mean, I've heard stories of people having their miscarriage. You're going in for the surgery to have it vacuumed out, and then they're at work that afternoon if they've had it done in the morning.
So that's another question.
And
should
workplaces
like but workplaces should be a bit more sympathetic to it as well, shouldn't it? Like they should be to menopause.
Yeah,
I think with that, things are changing now, and there are a lot of companies that are putting in lots of things that are groundbreaking in that. So I do think there is change occurring in those areas. Not as fast as we'd like to see it, but it is happening.
Yeah. Right, one more advert break. We're almost out of time, ladies. Let's see what's happening, and here are the messages.
Lifestyle Show.
Selina MacKenzie.
Okie dokie, we're on the last 10 minutes of the Me Nobody Sees. I just got a couple of things I want to touch on before we go. Nobody tells you as well, Anna, how your body changes. Nobody wants to talk about that either.
Yeah, because the main theme to what we've been talking about is not talking about stuff. And obviously, if things go wrong, to me it was a blessing being able to talk about it. But what about when things are going right? And if things had carried on going right, I still had so many questions and so many experiences. And that first trimester, you're not supposed to, again, inverted commas, you're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to announce it. But then how do you share? How do you speak to other women who have gone through it? And how do you know what's normal, what's not normal, if you're not talking about it? Because some of the pregnancies or symptoms, is that the word? I don't know, developments, are pretty disgusting. They're gross, they're embarrassing. You don't know if they're normal. I've just been able to talk about that with this one friend that I talked about it when I was in the positive stage of it all. And again, that was such a blessing, just being able to talk, did you have this? Oh, yeah, oh, no.
I really, really, really wished somebody had written a book that tells you the absolute truth about pregnancy.
There must be one, surely.
No, I think they all gloss over it from what you actually go through. And it isn't, it's like you say, you can't really... but if talking to somebody else, you can relate to it.
Michelle, nobody'd have any children. The population would be over.
I know, I suppose that's it. And the thing is, I know we all moan and whatever, but some of us have done it more than once. So there's obviously something in it.
One final thing, one of my favourites, well, actually, I've got chocolate and gin. I've got dogs. These are all my favourite topics, and the menopause. Go on, Pascal, over to you.
I love that. Absolutely love that. I just suppose I feel like we should complete the cycle of life by thinking about the menopause, because there again, it's all hormonal, or it's mostly hormonal, and those hormone changes are... for some, life-changing, and not just because your whole body is changing, but your whole attitude to. I mean, my client base is pretty much kind of 40 to 65-year-old women, and it's no coincidence that at that age are we allowed to swear on here? Not really.
It only depends how bad.
They're just like, no. They're just like, I'm done with this rubbish.
Okay, I've got it.
I am not doing this anymore. And sometimes there's lots of different reasons, lots of different theories. But in my experience, it comes down to kids have grown up. Kids don't need me as much. I realise now how unhappy and miserable I have been, how much I've been sacrificing. And I think there is new research that says that's also hormonal in terms of the estrogen dropping, testosterone coming up, because you're no longer making babies. And a lot
I'm no longer making hormones.
Oh, all right, don't brag. Nobody likes a bragger.
Especially one with wet ears.
Are we back to dogs again?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that, but there again, I mean, thanks to Davina McCall, we are talking about it more, but we're still not talking about it enough.
Well, if anybody's interested, I run a menopause meeting once a month. You can always join me. That's not
fabulous.
a problem. Did you not know that, Pascal?
I don't think I did know that, actually.
Yes, it's for you. You've seen the Wellness Circle?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, started off with the menopause meetings.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So-
With Fiona, does Fiona get involved at all
just
or
me.
not? Just you?
Just me.
Amazing. Oh, that's so
I'll
good.
give you some details.
Oh, yeah, do actually, please.
Talking of details, what are your contact details if anyone wants to get in touch? Do you have websites? Do you have social media?
I have it all. So I'll try and do it slowly. WhatsApp me is the easiest. Find me on Facebook or on Instagram. So Facebook, I am Pascal Lane, Pascale, Lane, Lane. You can't miss me. There's only about 3 of us on Facebook. Instagram is you_fulfilled. That's FULFILLED. Or you can WhatsApp me on +44 7802 792097. And just for good luck, my website is www.youfulfilled.co.uk.
Brilliant. Lots
Thank
of places
you.
to get in touch there. Do we have any contact details, any helplines, Michelle?
We do indeed. Obviously, we have Sam Spain, which, if you're feeling the need to talk to anybody, is fantastic. And that is 900 525 100, and that is the Samaritans in Spain. There are 2 PND groups that are worth mentioning. One is PANDAS, which is pre and postnatal depression advice and support group. They run a 24-hour hotline. It is a UK number, which is +44 808 1961 776. And if not, APNI, who are also a postpartum organisation with lots of information on +44 207 586 0868.
Wonderful.
And do those Samaritans in Spain speak English?
Yes.
Yeah, they're
and
very
in fact, all of these do. That if anybody is interested and needs to contact Selina for support in Spanish, I do have an international postpartum support group in Spanish as well.
Perfect. And do you know when we'll see you again, lovely?
Lovely Anna. Here and Talk Radio Europe from 4 till 6, but it's the Friday cocktail.
Yay, it's the Friday cocktail. I should have got the promo ready, couldn't I? It's the Friday cocktail.
Yeah.
Right then, so you have been listening to the Me Nobody Sees, raising awareness and breaking the silence around postnatal depression and pregnancy-related mental health challenges. Excuse me. Remember that you're not alone and help is always available. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out to your GP or local support services or the helplines that Michelle has given. Let's keep the conversation going because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. Give yourselves a round of applause, ladies.
Well done.
Super well done. We'll be back with another next month.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.